In a world that worships movement, we have forgotten the sacred power of stillness. Where noise dominates every corner of life, silence has become rebellion. And in a time when chaos is constant, harmony, true, internal harmony, has become the rarest currency on earth. You are told to chase. Chase success, chase relevance, chase likes, chase that job, that partner, that dream, and run faster, run harder, run until your spirit fractures beneath the weight of it all. But Confucius whispered through the corridors of time a forgotten truth. The superior man is calm and at ease. The inferior man is constantly anxious and restless. He wasn't talking about laziness. He was talking about centeredness, a power not found in the external, but forged in the furnace of internal order. Harmony, not the absence of noise, but the dominance of clarity within it. We live in chaotic times. The world pulls at your mind, begging for your attention, devouring your focus. There's always something breaking: news, rules, promises, identities. And in this storm, the average man becomes lost, but the centered man becomes unshakable, because harmony is not a retreat. It is not passivity. It is the highest form of power. To be able to see clearly when others panic, to move deliberately when others flail, to feel deeply but not drown, that is the quiet mastery of the one who has aligned himself with truth. You don't need more noise. You need alignment. They won't teach you that. They'll sell you productivity hacks. They'll hand you blueprints and checklists. But what they can't sell, because it can't be commodified, is centeredness. That unshakable inner axis that cannot be touched by the storms outside. The world is drowning in distractions, and attention has become the new oil. But the truly wealthy, in mind, in heart, in life, are those who have mastered the ability to return to center. Harmony is the new wealth, not in your bank account, in your spirit, in your ability to walk into chaos and carry stillness with you like a shield of light. Confucius did not live in silence. He lived in dynasties of turbulence, and yet he chose virtue over vengeance, order over popularity. He taught not just wisdom, but rhythm, the inner rhythm of a life lived deliberately, honorably, fully. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed, lost, pulled in 10,000 directions, good. That is your signal, not to run faster, but to slow down, not to do more, but to become more aligned. Success built on speed collapses. Success built on harmony endures. Because centeredness is clarity, and clarity is strength. Ask yourself, do you know what you believe? Or have you simply inherited the beliefs of others, reacting instead of reflecting? Do you act with intention, or do you move like a puppet, dancing to the rhythm of someone else's chaos? The ones who changed the world, the Edisons, the Lincolns, the Disneys, the Carnegies, they were not manic reactors. They were men of presence. They cultivated stillness as fiercely as others pursued gold. To master yourself is to master the battlefield before a single step is taken. Because all greatness begins not in the marketplace, but in the mind. And the mind that is cluttered with noise cannot lead, cannot love, cannot build. You want to be unstoppable? Start with silence. You want to lead nations, build empires, raise families in strength and grace. Learn to command your own nervous system. Learn to sit in stillness and confront the chaos within, until it bows before your clarity. That's not weakness. That is real power. Because when the world screams, the wise man listens within. When society panics, The leader returns to center. And when the average man blames the external, the great man refines the internal. It's not that harmony makes life easy. It makes you formidable, because nothing outside you has permission to dominate what's within. You become the mountain, the anchor, the axis. While others are thrown by winds of trend and trauma, you remain rooted. And from that place of stillness, you move, not reactively but powerfully, not aimlessly but with intention, because harmony does not mean stillness forever. It means movement with purpose. Centeredness is not absence of motion. It is the elevation of intention. It's choosing when to speak and when to stay silent. It's knowing what is yours to carry and what belongs to the storm. It's walking into rooms with a calm so deep it silences chaos before a word is spoken. Do you feel that pull within you? That longing for order? It's not weakness. It's your inner compass realigning to what you've always known but the world made you forget. That your value was never in your speed, never in your noise, never in your hustle, but in your clarity, your values, your harmony. The world will keep spinning, faster, louder, more chaotic every year. But the ones who will rise, not just in money, but in meaning, will be those who master the art of harmony, the entrepreneurs who build with principle, the artists who create from center, not comparison, the leaders who remain calm while others crack. That is the new currency. That is the new wealth. Not dollars, but direction. Not performance, but presence. Not chaos, but clarity. And it begins not someday, not when the world gets easier, but now. Breathe, listen, return to your center. There is nothing stronger, but mean more. To cultivate harmony is to understand the law of alignment, just as a musician must tune his instrument before he plays. So too must you tune your mind, your body, your soul. Before you play the music of your life, you can hustle all day. You can check every box. But if your inner strings are out of tune, everything you produce will feel just slightly off, slightly strained, slightly fake. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs resonance. And resonance only comes from the aligned. This is why so many high performers burn out. They climbed the mountain, but climbed the wrong one. They reached the top only to discover they'd betrayed themselves at every step. And now they stand there, successful in the eyes of others, but shattered in the mirror. Harmony is the antidote. It is the compass that keeps you from trading your peace for pressure, your truth for trends. It demands that you ask, what do I truly value? What am I building, and why? You must step out of the current to see the current. You must detach from the speed of the world long enough to ask yourself, is this even my direction? Because movement without meaning is the new modern illness. People aren't tired because they do too much. They're tired because they do too little of what matters. Harmony brings you back. It brings you back to the breath, back to the body, back to that calm place inside you that existed before the world told you who to be. And from that place, all greatness flows. Thomas Edison didn't invent in chaos. He lived in a state of curious flow. He failed more than anyone, yes, but he never raged against failure. He welcomed it, because his inner world was intact. Failure didn't threaten his identity. Confucius taught this. He didn't just offer philosophical riddles. He offered psychological architecture, a way of building a soul strong enough to withstand time. When the mind is tranquil, he wrote, the whole universe surrenders. That is not poetry. That is reality. The greatest achievers, the greatest lovers, the greatest leaders are all those who mastered themselves first, because the man who controls himself controls everything. The world will always have storms, but the centered man carries his own weather. And when you are centered, truly centered, you become free. Free from comparison. Free from addiction to outcomes. Free from the need to impress. You no longer bend like a leaf in the wind. You become the mountain the wind curves around. This is power, and it is a quiet kind of power, a dignified kind, the kind that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you breathe, how you work, because everything that used to be driven by fear, fear of not being enough, fear of falling behind, fear of not being liked, gets replaced by clarity. Clarity of who you are, clarity of what you serve, clarity of what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And that clarity, when applied daily, becomes your discipline. Discipline not as punishment, but as devotion. Devotion to something greater, something sacred, your highest self. The men who shaped empires weren't motivated by trends. They were pulled by vision, and that vision came from stillness. Ford didn't follow the noise. He created a new one, a new possibility, because he saw what others couldn't, and more importantly, he trusted it. You will never create your future by mimicking someone else's past. You must become so aligned with your own inner harmony that your path becomes inevitable. That's when discipline becomes effortless, not because it's easy, but because it finally makes sense. You're not pushing a boulder uphill anymore. You're walking a path that belongs to you. That's why some people seem so unstoppable. They're not more talented. They're not more gifted. They're just aligned. They've tuned their inner world so precisely that their outer world bends to match it. And you can feel it. You can feel it in the man who enters a room and doesn't demand attention, but commands it, simply by the stillness in his eyes. You can feel it in the woman who doesn't need to shout to be heard, who speaks with calm conviction and the room leans in. That is harmony. That is centeredness. That is power. Not worn on the outside, but lived on the inside. And in a chaotic world, nothing is more rare or more necessary. Because when the inner world aligns, the outer world follows. You no longer chase success. You attract it, not like magic, but like magnetism, because people feel it. They feel the stability in your voice, the steadiness in your decisions, the integrity in your presence. In a world full of rushing, reactive people, the one who pauses becomes the compass everyone else orients around. That's what centeredness does. It doesn't just elevate your peace. It elevates your influence. This is not about shrinking into meditation retreats or escaping the world. It's about becoming the kind of human who can sit in the fire and not burn, who can speak with gentleness and still shake the ground, who can act with grace without ever compromising power. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment. And alignment doesn't mean getting it right all the time. It means living in truth even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because harmony isn't the result of ease. It's the result of courage. The courage to sit with your own thoughts. The courage to unplug from the noise long enough to hear your own voice. The courage to admit what no longer serves you. And the courage to walk away from anything that pulls you out of that centered place. no matter how seductive or convenient it may seem. Because the real war is not out there. It's in here. It's in the thousands of small moments when you choose reaction over reflection, impulse over intention, noise over truth. Every time you return to center, you win that war. And from those wins, those quiet, unseen victories, your life is built. People think transformation is loud, flashy, dramatic, but real transformation, it's subtle. It happens in the pause before the response, in the breath before the decision, in the choice to stay still when everything in you wants to run. The man who can master those moments becomes untouchable. Not because nothing bad happens, but because he becomes someone who is no longer defined by it. Confucius knew this. He saw power not as control over others, but as command over the self. He did not need to dominate. He resonated, because resonance, true resonance, does not need volume to be heard. It needs clarity, and clarity, in today's world, is the rarest form of brilliance, because we are taught to absorb more instead of digesting what we already know, to do more instead of becoming more, to speak more instead of listening to the silence behind the noise. But the greatest minds in history, they did the opposite. They created from stillness. They moved from alignment. They spoke with intentional fire, not reactionary sparks, and they left behind legacies that echo through time. What will you leave behind? Will it be a life of chaotic achievement, or a life of meaningful creation? Will your success be a scream for validation, or a symphony of harmony, because harmony leaves a trace? You can feel it in someone's posture, in how they treat a stranger, in how they show up when no one's watching. It's not loud, but it is undeniable. And make no mistake, this is not some spiritual luxury. It is the new necessity. In a world where everything is fighting for your attention, your ability to protect your peace is your greatest asset. Because without it, you'll give your life to things that don't matter, and you'll wake up one day successful, maybe, but hollow. Don't let that be you. Let your centeredness become your compass. Let your values guide your decisions. Let your clarity become your currency, because in the end, it's not the noise that breaks you. It's the absence of direction within it. And once you learn how to carry direction inside you, the world cannot pull you off course. This is how you build resilience, not by toughening up, but by tuning in. Resilience is not the armor you wear. It is the alignment you return to. It is knowing who you are so clearly that no external storm can shake it loose. That's what creates true momentum. Not chaos, but coherence. You move faster when your soul isn't tangled. You think clearer when your mind isn't scattered. You create deeper when your heart isn't divided. This is how you win, not just once, but for a lifetime. And if you're waiting for the world to get quieter before you begin, you'll wait forever. You must be the quiet. You must be the clarity. You must become the stillness in the storm. Because that stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the origin of right movement, the kind that builds legacies, the kind that heals generations, the kind that turns simple lives into sacred ones. You don't need another app, another tactic, another life hack. You need to slow down long enough to hear what your soul has been whispering all along, that you were never meant to burn out for belonging, that you were never meant to prove your worth through exhaustion, that you were never meant to race to the top of a ladder leaning against the wrong wall. You were meant to live in rhythm, with your values, with your purpose, with your truth. And that rhythm, it lives inside you, under the noise, under the pressure, under the constant performance of modern life. It is waiting. And the moment you stop and listen, you remember. You remember who you were before the world told you to be someone else. You remember that joy isn't found in more, but in enough. That power isn't found in volume, but in presence. That wealth isn't found in possessions, but in peace. You don't need to be everything. You need to be aligned, because from that alignment comes everything. That's the paradox. You get more when you need less. You rise higher when you're rooted deeper. You move the world when you no longer need the world to move you. That's harmony, and it changes everything. So today, ask yourself, what is pulling me out of alignment? What noise have I confused with direction? What voices have I given authority over my peace? And what would it look like to just return to that quiet place inside me where wisdom still lives? You don't need to earn that place. You were born with it. But you do need to protect it, because no one else will. The world will try to trade it for trends, for urgency, for performance. But you must become a guardian of your own centeredness. That is your work. That is your wealth. That is your revolution. Not louder, not faster, not more, but deeper, clearer, truer. Because when your life is aligned, your impact becomes inevitable. So breathe, be still, be centered, and from that place of move with harmony, with courage, with purpose. Because that is the new wealth, and it can never be stolen, broken, or bought. It is built. One choice, one breath, one moment of clarity at a time.